It's Coastal Gardner on the Talk Station FM 107.1. And joining us today, Sean Banks of the Carteret County Cooperative Extension Agency. And I got the cooperative in the right location
You
for
did.
a change, I do believe, after years and years of practice. All right. Good afternoon to you, Sean. And, you know, I got to start off with, I saw recently more bounties on Bradford pears.
There are more towns across North Carolina that are excited about removing Bradford pears and trying to put more native plants in their place. So I don't know of any right here close by Carteret County, but I know the closest one I know of is in Wilmington this year.
Right. I find this humorous, but there is a serious note associated with it. But I find it humorous in light of the fact that the Department of Agriculture and North Carolina Agriculture are working to remove trees. This is contrary to what most people would be thinking.
Well, they are, and the reason being is that they are so prolific, and they will start growing in our native environment, and they start to, because they grow so quickly, they shade out a lot of those beneficial plants, the native plants, and so they want to try to get rid of the ones in the landscape, so as they remove the ones that are in the wild, they won't repopulate really quick.
You know, the other aspect of this, and you've said, I'm saying this as if I know. I'm talking about all the months of talking with you, years of talking with you here on Coastal Gardner, and that is that one of the problems with Bradford pears is the issue of the bees, the pollinators. They do not like Bradford pears, apparently.
Well, the bees don't necessarily like it. They're usually pollinated by flies, but because they're replacing a lot of other plants,
We just as soon avoid the flies altogether.
Yes, we would. And while we're speaking about Bradford pears and the bounties, we do have that webinar coming up that will be broadcast on Zoom that you can sign up for. It's a Plant This webinar. There still are a few spots left if you're interested in learning a little bit more about plants that can be used to replace the Bradford pears. We'll be talking about plants that can replace Bradford pears, privet, and a few other non-native plants that have become very invasive in our landscape.
Okay, the other comment about that, you are limited on the number of video contacts you can have because, of course, limit on, I guess, the server that you're using, things of this nature. Real quick question. Let's go back to what that is, that program, and I'm wondering, will it be recorded for possible review for people who may want to be, who may not be able to make the actual scheduled broadcast?
As long as they don't forget to hit the record button, it should be recorded.
Okay.
That was the plan because we had so many people say, I'm not going to be able to make it on that day. Can I watch it another day? I think they decided that they were going to record it, but they wanted to have people there live as well so that they could respond to questions right away.
I'm putting you in a bad spot, but what day and time will this be airing?
It'll be March 14th. That's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
At 9:30. And it's planned for an hour of presentation and then about 20 to 30 minutes of answering questions.
And how does someone register to get on the list?
I don't have that website memorized, but I know there is a website through Coastal Federation, and if you'll go to the Carteret County website, that's carteret.ces.ncsu.edu. It should be on our calendar with a link to the registration page.
All right. That website again is Carteret.
Carteret.ces.ncsu.edu.
Okay. All right. And this is an opportunity to see a program on plants that are native and that can replace and better. Well, let me just go to this. You know, we'll pick on a Bradford pear since we talked about that earlier. It's got a lot of light leaves. It's very pretty. It gives a lot of shade. Okay, I mentioned the bounty. The towns are giving. You've got to bring in it's not happening here, but in the case of those towns that do have a bounty, you bring in the trunk or
I'm not sure what exactly they're asking for, but some kind of evidence. I would think some picture evidence that it's being cut down with a timestamp on the pictures that it's that particular week.
So I've removed my Bradford pear. but wait a second, I want something that is similar to that, that'll give me that kind of shade. So I'm assuming that what I'll learn in this program is, okay, in lieu of a Bradford pear, because it gives you shade and it's nice and, fluffy and all the other stuff, you can plant X. Is
Correct.
that right?
That's what
Okay.
we're going to be talking about. And some
Okay.
of the plants will be plants that have flowers around the same time.
Got you.
And some of the plants, well, at least one of the plants will be a large tree or a medium-sized tree in the landscape that if you're just looking for a shade tree to produce that canopy with some good fall color, it would replace it for that particular reason.
One more time, that website is to register carteret.ces.ncsu.edu. A lot of dots in this.
Yeah, there are a lot of dots in there.
Okay. I didn't see any dits. We got
No,
dots, but no
just
dots.
dots.
Okay, all right. That's a local joke there with Sean Banks of the Carteret County Cooperative Agriculture Extension Agency with us today. I jumped right into, as I am prone to do, an observation, a comment. What have you got on tap today?
Well, one of the things that I did want to mention is that there are some household hazardous waste events coming up.
Ooh, good.
The first one that's in our area is in Craven County on Saturday, March 25th from 8 until 1, and that's at the Craven Community College.
Mm-hmm.
And then there will be one on Saturday, April 15th in Pamlico County. Same time. Well, this one's from 9 until 1. It's at the Pamlico County Courthouse. And then there'll be one in Carteret County on Saturday, April 22nd from 8 until 1. And that will be at the Carteret County Health Department.
What are some of the items that you cannot take to the waste, this effort to recycle?
They will not accept any gas cylinders, so anything that could explode, so pressurized cylinders.
Propane tanks, for example.
Example, yeah,
Gotcha.
that's a good
Okay.
one. Even the little 1 pound propane cylinders, they won't take those either.
Okay.
Even if they're empty, they just won't accept those because they don't know if if they have pressure in them still or not. They don't take any commercial waste. They won't take any explosives. I can't figure that one out. They won't take any ammunition. So if you have extra
that's
bullets
an
or
explosive, yeah, that's an explosive
extra
device.
bullets that were left
Yeah.
there, they won't take those either.
right.
And then they won't take any infectious, biological, or radioactive waste.
Okay.
And then if you have mystery cans, something that lost its label, you can't bring those either. So it
Okay.
needs to have something with the original label so they know what it is that's in there.
Gas and oil.
Yes, they will accept gas and oil.
Okay, I think that's important because you've got people who've got gas that's been hanging around for a while and they're not sure what to do with it. Oil, particularly, as we like to call it, burnt cylinder oil, burnt oil.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or even somebody that's inherited a site and somebody left a bunch of like automotive fluids,
Okay.
power steering, brake fluid, that kind of thing. As long as it's still in the original container, you can bring it there and they will accept it.
But it has to be in the original container.
It helps them to know exactly what
What
it
it
is
is,
if it
yeah.
is in the
Okay.
original container.
Okay. The other aspect of this is paints. The same thing?
I think it says on here that they will accept paints, latex and oil-based paints,
Okay.
and paint thinners. It helps if they are dried, so they can't still be where you can mix them up and paint with them. It helps to have them to where they're
Okay.
so if you're going to take them, if you have some and it's just a little bit left in a can, open the can,
Can
let it dry out, and then you can
Okay.
take it and drop it off.
Okay. I think that's, even if you don't have the ability to dispose of it, letting it dry out is a good thing, actually,
Right.
for all intents and purposes. Okay. One more time. Let's go over those dates before we go to the break.
In Craven County, it'll be Saturday, March 25th from 8 until 1,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be at the community college, the Craven Community College. And in Pamlico County, it'll be Saturday, April 15th from 9 until 1, and that's at the Pamlico County Courthouse. And then in Carteret County, it will be on Saturday, April 22nd from 8 until 1, and that's at the Carteret County Health Department.
And this is all household hazardous waste. No commercial entities need a
Correct.
right.
No commercial stuff.
Okay. One other aspect of this, and I'm not sure that this is probably the location for it, but there was a period of time when you would also accept electronics Is that? But that's not. This is not.
That's not listed on here
Okay.
as accepting that, but it does say they will take batteries, so you might want to call them and talk to them. But a lot of electronics like TVs, radios, that kind of thing,
Okay.
you can take to the
You can take to
convenience sites, and they will dispose of
recycle
them.
them, and they have a whole area set aside for electronics, which I think
Yes.
is very, very good. All right, we're talking with Sean Banks of Carter County Cooperative Agriculture Extension Agency. We've been, and he's smiling because I almost missed the cooperative part, but I will get it yet. More to come here on Coastal Gardner. Coastal Gardner on the Talk Station FM 107.1, and joining us this afternoon, we have Sean Banks, with Carteret Cooperative Agriculture Center, North Carolina Cooperative. I'll get it
Right, it's in there somewhere.
somewhere in there. And the topic, of course, is how we can take care of our plants. And we've talked a few moments ago about an upcoming event taking place March 14th at the
It's on Zoom, so you can
Zoom.
watch it anywhere.
Where will you actually be conducting it? At your offices there?
We've got 3 speakers that are going to be participating in this. One will be located in Raleigh at NC State University. One will be situated in Wilmington at her office in Wilmington, and I'll be in my office here in Carteret County. So we'll all 3 be presenting, but we'll be presenting from different locations.
Outstanding. Okay. What else is on tap?
Well, speaking of plants and the importance of plants in the landscape, I've noticed that there are a lot of plants that are out there flowering. And when I looked at the weather app this morning, it said that there's a possible freeze or frost warning getting close to Wednesday morning,
Right.
Thursday morning, somewhere in there. And so I wanted to tell people to be cautious, and possibly if it as the day gets closer and they keep forecasting the temperatures to get cooler and cooler, you may want to find a blanket or a sheet or something to cover up any of that tender growth on some of your plants
Okay.
that you want to save.
All right. And plastic is not a good thing.
Plastic is not a good thing because the cold tends to go right through the plastic and transfer through the plastic and onto the plant, whereas cloth has that insulating characteristic. That's probably why we don't sleep under plastic but under cloth. So it has that insulating factor and keeps that warmth underneath the cloth.
You know, the other aspect of plastic is that there's no transfer of air.
Right.
And does that contribute to the problem?
That might contribute to the problem, but I think because the fabric has those pore spaces in there, it provides more of an insulating factor, whereas the plastic conducts that cold right through because there aren't those pore spaces.
Okay, we're talking about, in this particular case, ornamentals.
Right.
What about gardens? What about the fact that I may be seeing some sprouts on my garden?
Well, the only sprouts that I can think of right off the top of my head for cool season plants that we may already have in the garden would be the lettuce. Lettuce is not super cold hardy, but things like broccoli and cabbage and kale, peas, potatoes, carrots, things that we would normally plant this time of the year, they can handle frost temperatures down around 32 to 30 degrees.
Okay.
If it gets in the 20s, it'll probably knock that foliage back as well. But right now, what I'm seeing is temperatures in the mid to lower 30s.
Okay. By the way, I did see that the prediction is that March is going to be a cold month. Did you see that?
I did see that too, yes.
Okay.
Which might be a good thing for the masters, because I was kind of worried that everything was going to bloom out and they weren't going to have any azaleas blooming.
Oh, okay. We're talking the master. When you said masters, I'm thinking master gardeners. Okay, you're talking about the golf
The golf
match.
tournament, yes.
Oh, the golf tournament. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, back to the issue of the gardens right now. What about blueberries and things of this nature? And I know that because blueberries are sensitive to cold snaps, are they not?
Yes, they are, and some blueberries are starting to bloom now. So buds that haven't opened yet will still be safe, but flower buds that have opened completely, if you have blueberry bushes, fig bushes, I've seen some fig bushes that have already leafed out. If you have fig bushes that have leafed out and you want to protect them from a frost, you might want to cover them up with a blanket. That being said, if it's a small enough bush that you can cover it, if it's a huge bush, there's really nothing you can do,
Right.
but the lower leaves will be protected and you'll still get fruit off of that bush.
We've often seen the situation, particularly in Florida, where they've had these severe frosts, where they spray the yard with water. Would that do the same thing for something with blueberries, for example?
Yes, commercial growers with blueberries and strawberries, especially because a lot of strawberries are already starting to flower and
Are they
produce some
really?
fruit.
Okay.
So a lot of those commercial growers, they will have already tested their overhead irrigation, overhead sprinklers.
Hmm.
And if it gets down to 33, 34 degrees, they'll probably turn that overhead irrigation on just in case it drops down below 32. And what they'll do is they'll run that irrigation not just while it's freezing, but until all the ice that might have accumulated on that plant has melted and gone away.
Oh, I thought they left the ice on the plant so that it would actually sort of insulate the plant.
No, actually, there's a thermodynamic reaction. As the water freezes, it releases heat from the water into the plant to keep the plant from freezing.
Uh-huh.
But then the water has to melt, and so it has to take heat from somewhere to melt the ice. And so
Oh.
as long as they continue putting water on there, it can take the heat from the other water instead of taking heat from the plant. But if you stop and just leave ice on there, then it has to take the heat from the plant, and then you end up with frost injury anyway.
Okay. Now, back to the fact that you said if you've got a large plant, I'm thinking blueberry,
Right.
and you can't cover it all, you will lose some of the top fruit.
Depending on how cold it gets, the top fruit is and the stuff on the very outside is going to be the first to get damaged.
Mm-hmm.
But if we only get to 32, maybe 31 degrees, it may just be the top layer and not down deeper into the plant. So you could still have some fruit produced.
All right. Not being as aggressive as I think some of your master gardeners and other gardeners are, there are often times when I've just ignored these frost warnings, and there's been frost. Interestingly enough, the plants survive. My question is it two things? Is it the severity of the frost? In other words, how deep, how cold it gets, go below 32 degrees? Is it the depth of the frost, and is it the length of the frost that is most damaging? Which is it, or all of it?
It's a little bit of both. The biggest part is going to be how cold it gets. And since we've cooled off a little bit here, and we're going to cool off a little bit more before we get to the actual frost state, the plants will have a chance to harden off a little
Okay.
bit. But if we were to go from 70 degrees one day to 26 the next day,
which has happened before,
and that's happened a couple of times in the last 3 or 4
and
years.
that is you suddenly see. I will acknowledge that I've seen brown occur within weeks after that happens, and as a matter of fact, it devastated a palm tree. One of the smaller palms.
Right. And what happens with that is that all the juices are flowing through the plant. You've got a lot of movement in the phloem and the xylem, or the insides of the plant, the
Right.
blood vessels in the plant. Anyway, you got a lot of movement in there, and then all of a sudden it gets really cold and it freezes the water that's in those water conductive tissues, and that's what causes the damage. That freezes, and in essence it bursts the pipe, and so you get a little bit
Wow.
of damage from that kind of thing.
Okay, so again, if we have a freeze, but it's 2 hours long, let's say from roughly 3 o'clock in the morning, let's make it 3 hours long, 3 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock, and then about 5 o'clock in the morning, it starts to warm up. Is that a really significant impact? Can that have an impact on your ornamentals or even on your garden?
It will have an impact on the foliage that's out there.
Okay.
So anything like, I've got a hydrangea bush that is in the front of my house, which is on the west side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the top buds have already broke. And I am really glad that I hadn't already pruned it, because I was thinking about pruning it last weekend, and then I decided, no, I'll wait and see if we actually do get a freeze. So if we have a hard freeze, say 30 degrees, 29 degrees, somewhere in there, it'll it'll kill the leaves that have already leafed out, but only the buds on the top of the plant have leafed out. So I can still prune that back after that frost, and then I'll get the size of the plant that I want, because that plant's a little bit overgrown for the space that it's in. So I wanted to cut it back this year anyway. This just gives me an excuse. I'll just say the frost did it, and I have to cut it back anyway.
Okay, so as normal, I don't take care of my plants. I don't cover them. There's some damage. What do I do?
What I would do is I would look and see. Sometimes after a couple of days, you'll be able to see the parts that are dead because they'll start to shrivel up. And it may just be the green tissue that came out, or it may be in the stem a little bit. If you start to see it in the stem, cut off that dead tissue. It's okay to cut off any dead, dying, or diseased tissue anytime that you see that.
Really?
And what that does is that prevents disease from getting into the good or healthy wood of the plant.
Okay, but you've got this scar on the plant. You've got this nub, if you will.
And plants are really good, kind of like you and I. If we get cut, our blood scabs up and heals
Gotcha.
off.
Okay.
When a plant gets cut, it doesn't have blood, but what it'll do is it'll send tannins to that area, and that seals off, kind of like a Band-Aid. It seals off that cut so that it won't the disease won't be able to
I
get
don't
in.
have to do anything. I don't have to paint it with anything like that.
No, you just make that cut, and the smaller the cut, so the smaller the stick that you're cutting, the quicker it'll be able to heal off.
Okay. Before we wrap it up, and I've jumped right into a whole myriad of questions. One quick item on the yards and lawns in light of the fact that we're anticipating a freeze next week.
Right.
What should we do? What should we worry about? And by the way, can I go out and do my pre-emergent in light of the fact that it's going to be cold and my grass is going to be stunted as a result?
Your grass is going to slow down its growth again, and it's good that we've had the cooler temperatures coming in a little bit, so it'll be used to having those colder temperatures. Yes, the grass has already started growing a little bit. I've noticed my grass is starting to green up, but you can
wait
put
a second. You're agricultural type. Your yard automatically looks perfect, right?
No, my yard does not automatically look perfect. It is starting to look better, but yes, you can put the pre-emergent out there. I think I would still hold off on putting the post-emergence out there right now because the grass is greening up. So if you're seeing your grass starting to come out of dormancy, I would at this point hold off until it's completely out of dormancy, probably sometime in late April, early May, before applying a post-emergent herbicide, just based on the fact that a lot of grasses are damaged during that time where they're starting to come out of dormancy when a pre-emergent or a post-emergent is applied.
Okay, so you're saying don't put a post-emergent on? Or
Correct.
Okay.
A pre-emergent you can put because pre-emergents are going to be down there in the soil, and it's only going to damage the root system.
Okay.
If you have a centipede lawn, you may want to hold off on a pre-emergent because as the grass comes out, one thing that's different about centipede than any other grass is that all the old roots die off and it sends new roots down from the runners or the stolons. And so when that new root comes in contact with that pre-emergent, if it's a root inhibitor, which most of our pre-emergents are root inhibitors, it causes stubby roots, and that centipede can't send the roots down into the soil to get the water and the nutrients that they need. So at this point with centipede, I would probably hold off. Other types of grasses, zoysia, Bermuda, St. Augustine, yes, a pre-emergent would be fine.
Okay. I want to thank Sean Banks for being with us today. And again, remind folks, March 14th, 9:30 a.m.,
yes,
there will be a special Zoom meeting, if you will.
It's a broadcast,
Broadcast. And if you want to register, you said there are still seats available, not many.
Correct.
Okay. And the reason is, of course, there's a limit of the available contacts through their server. Limited to what, 300? Am I correct?
I think we actually bumped it up to 500, but they won't let us go above 500 because the bandwidth won't take any more than that.
All right. If you want to get more information, you go to the website, carteret.ces, Cooperative Exchange Service.
Right.
So carteret.ces.ncsu.edu.
That's correct.
All dots, no dits.
That's correct.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
That's
no
fine.
dits.
No dots in this one. All right. Sean, wrapping up, have we covered pretty much everything you wanted to cover today?
Yes, that was.
All right. More to come here on the Talk Station, FM 107.1. And again, thanks to Sean Banks and the, what is the proper title? North
Carolina Cooperative Extension.
Okay. Cooperative Extension Service. All right. Thank you, Sean, as always.